Hello. I'm making a video in the late afternoon. It's still January 19, 2026. And the days are getting longer, and it seems like during the day it's getting a little bit warmer, but it's right now I would say about 50 degrees, so it's not warm enough for a t-shirt. But the birds, they really enjoy the sun, and they like this large spruce tree, and they go into that spruce tree all the time, and they are singing to me, and I sing back. And that's very nice. So yesterday I saw something that absolutely, I don't even know how to describe how that feels. It aches. That's all I can say. It aches. That's how I always say it. It aches. And what I found is I am signed up with a bunch of animal rights people and vegans on X, and one of the vegan promoters posted something that would melt anyone's heart. I hope so, So some real bad engine smell coming from the street. Awful. This is terrible. I wished I was in the valleys of Montana right now, at some remote blue, pink sapphire mine, and have only the smell of sapphires. That would feel a lot better than this here. Oh, I'm sorry, this is terrible. You can't smell it, but I'm just so sensitive to smells. I don't like bad smells. I don't like gasoline odors. I don't like the drilling of oil industry. I don't like it at all. It needs to be abolished. So I need to abolish drilling. It's a fact. So, what I saw last night, it just was so heartbreaking and heartwarming and crushing. It's just beyond words. It's absolutely beyond words. And sometimes gods appear in the form of an animal. Okay, and that's what happens. So this is the story. It was in Spain, and it was in one of these matador bullfighting rings, which I have signed petitions against for as long as I know. So, and I will keep on signing petitions until I die. So, until this ends, until this horror ends. Okay. I don't care if people call this a culture or a tradition. You want to call killing baby girls in a bullfighting ring, you want to call that a tradition? So what's the difference? Okay, so, but this story that's just something completely. that is something from the interdimensional space of the quantum field. Okay, so this is something that has probably never happened before in the whole world. A matador has been doing that for a long time. He has killed many bulls. He goes into this ring, into this fighting ring, this fighting arena with all the people there cheering and awaiting for the execution of the bull, just like the people in the Middle Ages were sitting there knitting their sweaters while watching someone being guillotined to death. Okay, so same mentality. It's the crude, brute mentality. Okay, so which I haven't seen any change in that to this modern day. That, I mean, we were hoping it would be modern. Seems to still be very archaic. So, but anyway, this matador, all dressed up with gold embroidery, and he goes in there with his harpoon or whatever horrific weapon he has in his hand, and he goes to the center, and at the other end of the arena they are releasing a bull, and often they agitate the bulls. The bulls are angry for a reason, and so this is never like a duel. Okay? A duel is something completely different from an ethical standpoint. Okay, a duel is something two men meet each other to shoot each other. So whoever reaches his bullet at the other person's head first is the winner. Okay, and it's agreed upon. It is. I'm making video. It's a mutual agreement. Okay, they both decided to be suicidal and go for it. Okay, it's a totally different story. The bull never signed up for that agreement. Never did. Okay, he's totally to the mercy of humans. He's led into this arena, even agitated, even cattle-pronged and poked with knives so that he will get extra agitated and angry. But what if, just imagine for a moment, what if the soul of a bull, just in this one bull, happens to not be the average soul? Okay. What if this is the soul of Gautama Buddha? Then what? Okay. What will Gautama Buddha do in a situation like this while he's being cattle-prodded and poked into the butt, led into this matador arena in Spain? This should be outlawed. I mean, this should go against international law. This is an international animal horror and crime. Okay, it is a crime against living beings. So what if that bull happens to be Gautama Buddha? That can happen. This happens. It's happened many, many times in history. Usually it goes unnoticed. Usually this does not find its way to a wider audience, or it has not happened yet in an arena where there are thousands of people watching. So obvious, it has probably happened somewhere behind the scenes, somewhere in rural areas, in order to teach 1 or 2 people, maybe 10 people at most, teach them something about loving kindness, something about, actually that's where Jesus Christ's statement, hold the other cheek, comes from. Okay. He learned that from Buddhist monks during his early teenage years, and that left a permanent impression on him, of course. So that's why he carried it into the Middle East, where life was just survival of the most brutish, right? So he carries it there, and people were falling to their knees in all. And that's why this carried on, and that's why this was also hijacked and later on and used and utilized and exploited to the fullest degree for MK Ultra and unbelievable mind control. But it started out with something that was very kind and very genuine. So, and this is exactly what happened in Spain. Gautama Buddha decided, I'm going to teach people something. Now is my opportunity. He's born into a boy that is in a lineage of cows that are, I guess, black Anguses or red Anguses. I don't know this particular type of, I guess they also used that in Egypt in ancient times already, which is an absolute horror. Okay, anyone who even talks about this from a historical point of view should always make sure to point out that this is not okay. They could have done it 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, right? It could have been part of their tradition. I don't care. We need to call it out for what it is. We need to say, this is absolutely unacceptable. It should have always been unacceptable. So now is the chance for humans. Now we're in a bottleneck now. Okay? This is a real bottleneck situation. So the ETs have acknowledged this. They know this. They have been already anxiously observing this from afar. What is happening here on Earth? Okay, so advanced evolution in terms of humanoids have happened before here on Earth, according to Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, several times already. But they snuffed themselves out through greed and brutishness. And just an unbelievable hunger for war. Okay, so they never made it through that bottleneck situation. We're in a bottleneck situation now. Now is our chance to conquer this, to conquer the greed and to step above, to move beyond greed. Now is our chance to say, no more war, no more terror, no more cruelty to any living being, no more exploitation, no more child trafficking, no more animal cruelty, okay? No more cruelty of any kind. Yet the cruelty is exponential in the world, okay? Conducted by people, by humans, whatever DNA they hold, right? So we're probably all a mix of all kinds of things, to say the least, right? So some people have more repto than others, maybe, yeah. I don't think there's any pure breed repto left, but some have probably a real high percentage. And it's all tragic because I know they feel ugly. They know they are ugly mentally. And it immediately translates over to them feeling ugly physically. They feel ashamed. But they keep going anyway. There's just so much selfishness and so much greed. They just keep on going. So my appeal to those people is, don't do it anymore. Stop doing it. Stop being greedy and stop exploiting other living beings. Stop it right now. Okay, this is your chance. This is a collective effort now. Okay, it's no longer an individual thing. This is a collective effort. If you want us all of us, with all the mixed stuff in us, if you want us to become a spacefaring society, or whatever you want to call it, maybe species, species with a lot of different DNA. It's not just a pure blood species, obviously. But if you want to become interstellar, if you want to explore, particularly if you want to meet our brothers and sisters in heaven, and I'm not talking about the ones that are disembodied, I'm talking about the celestial beings, I'm talking about the ones that you used to call angels, the ones you call angels, the ones you call gods and angels. They're out there, and they're physical just like we are. They live on other planets. They're a little different in some ways, but obviously, what do you mean by God? It's an ET, and it has always been that way throughout history. And as Dolores Cannon said, that some of the people that she interviewed that were under very deep somnolescent transformative insomniac bulescent meditation trance, right? They reported about it. They reported on the earth having started through seeding. There were beings that came here that seeded different things. So I would have accepted that the first amino acids have formed through this, the Darwinian theory, the process of first cell development. So where it starts to zip itself into, and then forward exponentially. So would have made sense to me, but obviously it's more convoluted than that. So I guess the first self-replicating amino acids may have been seeded, and maybe, or they have created themselves, and then later on other beings have been introduced as seedlings, so to speak. So that could have been all of that and everything together. So it's like Garden Eden is true. It's a gene splicing project that happens multiple times on this planet. It's becoming crystal clear to me now, from what I have been researching and reading and putting all of these pieces together. It's very, very obvious. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky talks about this in her Secret Doctrines. It blew my mind when I read that, because I have already heard about this from other sources, sci-fi type of stuff and some hyped up shows and all kinds of things, where I was a bit skeptical, of course, for most of my life, right? Then I read it, then I see this in Helena's book, and I'm like, this is it. This is the Garden Eden that they're talking about. They make this into something untouchable. They make these gods and angels into something untouchable and into something omnipotent, which they are not, They're just more potent in their power legislation, in their legislative mobility. They have more powers. They have more abilities, if you want to call it. It's not mystical. So Jiddu Krishnamurti talked about this. He said there's a lot of strange stuff happening that people can't explain. But is it mystical? If you look closer at it, it's not mystical at all. It's actually something very real. Something that has gradually evolved beyond our time, before our time, indefinitely. Okay, so, and time itself, what is that? Judy Krishnamurti and David Bohm talked about this for over 50 years. What is time? This is something that appears to us as real in this realm that we live here on this planet. And it's useful because obviously we have to use that wisely, we have to plan, and we have to do things in the right order in order to move forward. But beyond that, in space, time fizzles out, okay? And also philosophically and mathematically, time loses its grip, it loses its cohesiveness, okay? It fizzles out. It's not a dominating force. It isn't. That's why I take all the time in the world for my life now. I don't do anything anymore according to, you might get too old for this or that. No, I'm not falling for that scam. Okay, I sleep as long as I need to, sometimes 12 hours. Okay, then I feel refreshed. I have time. Time is not an issue in my life for me. I don't use an alarm clock unless Paul has a doctor's appointment at 10:30 or something, and I have to set my Nabi tablet to robot sounds, right? Then I have to, obviously, for those kind of things, for an appointment, but we don't have too many appointments in our lives. So that's why we want to move to the desert and have a hot spring property and heal all of our ailments, right? Paul has a lot of ailments. We really don't have time in this regard for Paul. Okay, he's very sick. Okay, I'm very worried about him. This is awful, terrible. Okay. But we have to sell one of the properties first before we can move, before we can buy another property. So all of this has to be done in the right order, or we're not going to be moving forward at all. We're going to eventually sell this property here as well. So, but the other one is, this is a real important for us, for our lives, that we are selling the other property. So, but I always sway out, but I think it's, all of these things are very important to ponder and meditate on, really, and take infinite time for that. You can't be in a rush. You can't be in a rush with anything. You have to really sit down and really focus your mind on something that you want to do, on the right order, on the planning, weighing things off, okay? Being cautious, being careful, particularly with other people. So I'm 60 now. I don't trust people anymore, okay? I used to be very naive. I took a lot of risks when I was young. I could have been murdered so many times. I could have been brought into human trafficking for whatever horrific thing, okay? And I know the blue God protected me. I know for sure. Because I was very naive. I trusted people. I skidded past the Grand Canyon cliff by inches, okay? Many times. Also suicide attempts. I could have died. I could have been brain damaged. And yet I came back out unharmed. I know that's the blue God protecting me. These were all learning experiences for my soul. Okay? So my life has been turbulent and very, very rough psychologically. Mainly psychologically. Just an unbelievable roller coaster of hell and betrayal and heartache. So, but you come out and you learn you can't trust people anymore. You can't even, some people, they're so unlucky, they can't even trust their own families. Okay? I know that my family, they were not very alert, okay? And they were living in some kind of neurotic bubble. My brother is the one that's rock bottom. My brother is the one that is a totally new soul, I believe. A soul that has never existed before. So a soul that's obviously so utterly confused that he mistakes everything for 3D greed, exploitation, being good business, or stealing from his family, being self-preservation, whatever he's thinking, okay, that is the thinking of a new soul. So there is not the faintest glimmer that there is another being that deserves to exist, that deserves the inheritance too, their part of the inheritance, that deserves respect and love and kindness and not betrayal. Or a living being that is in his mercy, his daughter, his dog, right? And from what I have been observing with him, the bits and pieces that he leaked out, it seems like he has betrayed all of them, including his wife Tina. Okay, so it's a horror, and I'm infinitely sorry for that. But obviously, a new soul that is completely confused, as all these matadors, most of the matadors in Spain are, okay, confused new beginner souls. But this one matador recently, this one matador was a little bit more advanced. Soul is a little bit more advanced. Probably comes from a family where it was just bread and butter in his life, right? It's like all of this, it's like me squishing an ant on the computer or something, because I don't want the ant to go into the keys. So, but I say so. I'm sorry, and I always say that. I always do, like the Aborigines in Australia. I always say that. I just have to say that, okay? Because there's an ant right there. No, that's some kind of moss. I'm gonna leave that moss there. I'm gonna blow that off later on. So sometimes they walk over the camera lens, and that's like this big monster going across the screen. That has happened before. I love all beings. So, but obviously I don't want ants crawling in there, so I have to squish the ants. And sometimes we have to do what we have to do, but we catch the rats live in live traps, and Paul always brings them over to the cemetery where there's a stream, so, and lets them out there, and they're really confused about that. Why would he do that for me? But then they go off, okay, and they're very grateful. So there's no need to hurt another living being, ever. But this one matador recently, his soul is a little bit more advanced. Probably light worker level. That is, I established these 8 levels. Beginner soul, student of life, light worker, indigo, angel, God level, Buddha level, infinite cosmos. So, yeah, 8 levels. Infinite cosmos is clear. That's when a soul is already merged with the infinite cosmos. Buddha level is just one below Elon Musk. Okay, just one below. And he is the one that's not just one bracket below, but he is the one next in line to merge upon his death, to merge with the blue God, the infinite cosmos. So I know this because I feel it very, very strongly, intuitively. So Paul Watson is another Buddha level soul, Captain Paul Watson. So Ingrid Newkirk is at least a God level soul. Ingrid Newkirk, the founder of PETA. Okay, so Wayne Purcell is a Buddha level soul. So he was the head of the Humane Society until they kicked him out because he was too good for them. That's why. So, but I don't want to sway and fan out into all of these other directions. Now, last but not least, my butt is getting cold. What happened in that arena is mind-blowing. The matador comes in there. He thinks it's just another average day of bullfighting. He comes to the middle of the arena. The bull prodded and poked in the butt, released into the arena. What does the bull do? Beautiful, beautiful Angus. He walks slowly over to the matador. And hangs his head down and looks at him with intelligent eyes. And the matador, he looks at him. He was first of all shocked that the bull would come over to him slowly and stand right in front of him, hanging there. The matador has never seen that before. And he looks into the eyes of the bull, and the people raging and kill him and all of this, And he looks in his eyes, and he only sees fear and infinite sadness and infinite love. He falls to his knees in front of the bull. He bows down in front of the bull. He puts the weapon aside on the floor. And he just sits there, completely defeated by the philosophy of the bull. And the audience, they're just screaming and shouting, and they can't believe what they see. They're actually angry, many of these brutes, because that goes against their brutish way of thinking. So the bull just stood there with infinite love. And I don't know whether he cried. They didn't talk about it. I assume he probably cried. He probably touched that bull and petted him and said, "I'm sorry. I'm never going to do this again." He gets up, leaves the sword there, gets up and walks out of the arena and never came back for the rest of his life. What they did with the bull, these other people, I don't know. The next person, a brutish person, what would he do in a situation like this? Kill the bull even though he's just standing there with his head down? Some kind of fight club situation where one just gives up, and then the other one, because they want their money or they want their whatever. So my appeal to the world is, when a situation like this arises, do what the matador did. Put your weapon aside. Bow down to that other living being and protect that other living being. Make sure that he gets adopted into a sanctuary. That is my appeal to the world. Save that other living being's life and never ever go back to such a horrific sport, or whatever sport it is, whether that's horse jumping, where they hit the horse's legs so they jump higher. All of this needs to be outlawed. Horse racing needs to be outlawed. All of that is exploitation. All of that is cruelty. End the cruelty. Okay, now is our chance. Okay? And this one matador, he turned his entire life around for that boy. He turned away from this horror tradition and he decided he's going to speak out against bullfighting for the rest of his life. He's become an animal rights activist and he's turned his entire life around. So my heart goes out for him. Okay, so thank you infinitely much. You did the right thing. You do the right thing. You are a light worker. You have understood what truth is. You have understood what love means. Thank you infinitely much for that. And my appeal is to the whole world. If we want to become an intergalactic species, follow into the footsteps of this man who stepped away from cruelty and moved towards love and truth. Peace.